That's what happened in my life, man. It was like one thing after the next. Once we decided to go there, even it was a huge leap of faith. And so for me, it was literally being willing to give up everything that I thought would be, that was good things, for an unknown I didn't know.
Right.
But I knew we could make it. You know, I knew, at least I hope so. So it was either I'm walking my family off a cliff or this is gonna be the best thing ever.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Austin Lewis here, coming to you guys, sitting next to my partner here, the man, the myth, the true legend, Mr. Austin Zaback. For today's A&A show, is going to be good, man. It's going to be real good.
Dude, I'm fired up, man.
It is going to be exciting.
I told you quite a while ago, I said, I really want this particular guest that we have on today, right?
Boom.
And I said in the beginning of the show, but we wanted to dial some things in for the audience, you know, and really get to be a little bit better of interviewers.
Not
that we're, you know, a ton better than we started, you know, but we're a little bit better.
For sure.
And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to have Todd. Here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. How do you intro Todd?
Well,
I was going to let you do it.
We intro Todd by doing multiple different things. And the first thing is, obviously you guys can see this new angle on me and Mr. Zaback here. This is just so you guys can see our pearly whites. Really is what it is.
We need a third angle. We got to get a third angle.
We'll if
you're watching on YouTube, keep watching on YouTube. It's going to get better and better. If you're listening on podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, where else we at?
Stitcher,
Spotify. Okay, if you're listening on any of those platforms, you got to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch it. Okay, we record it in 4K for you. It's a total pain in the butt.
Better than a movie. You can see my pores.
The freaking file sizes on these things are out of this world. But we do it for you, and so you can just smash that like button. If you're sitting there hovering over the like button, you just got to click on it. Okay,
that's right. And if you guys are on iTunes or Spotify or anything like that, Mr. Zaback said, give him a 5-star review.
That's exactly
you know what
right.
I mean? Because again, this angle gives him his pearly whites, and you guys will be able to see that on YouTube. But make sure and leave us a review as well, because I think today's episode is going to change your life, as I think every single episode we have done thus far is going to change your life. So make sure and go listen to all episodes, 28 of them. This is going to be 29 or 30, depending on when Mr. Rock and Roll Justin gets rocking and rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'll dive right into the
intro here.
The intro here. Todd Boffo.
Boffo.
You know, you said how could we intro Todd Boffo? I think for those of you that are going to be staying tuned for this entire episode, Todd Boffo is one of those individuals that the energy, the aura, the feeling you get by I can only imagine what people are going to hear through their car stereo, or hear through the TV, since you're playing it on your mom's TV or your ex-girlfriend's TV or somebody's TV, your own TV for that matter. But the energy, the aura, the genuinosity.
For sure. Generosity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know, look, a world-renowned speaker, world-renowned leader,
coach,
somebody that we've looked up to for a really long time, to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people thus far, and soon to be millions, right? I firmly believe that in the bottom of my heart.
100%.
And, you know, I've heard this guy speak on stages before. I've heard him speak to, you know, smaller groups of people, and I've heard him speak one-on-one, because I've gone to him personally for advice in my life, you know, in terms of business, relationships, spirituality, and multiple different things. And every time I've ever, you know, given this particular person a call, I've gotten the exact thing that I needed. Not necessarily the thing I wanted, but every single time the thing that I needed. So with that being said, Todd, we really appreciate you being on the show, brother.
Man,
let's rock and roll.
Good to be here, fellas. Be here with these young lions.
That's right.
I love being around people that are hungry.
Yes.
I like First of all, you see me, so I'm always hungry naturally. But I mean, for the bigger things in life, I love being around people that are hungry. And you guys are hungry. So good to be here. Plus, you have such great hair.
Yes.
I mean, just amazing hair. You need an extra camera in 4K just to cover the beauty of that hair. I mean,
we appreciate that. That means a lot. We're just trying to look as good as you. You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
At the end of the day.
I love it. Let's talk about that really quick. Then we'll kind of dive into it. But you said it. So, I mean, you put yourself on blast here. I mean, talk about why you like being around individuals that are hungry for a second.
Yeah.
Well, I think that especially where we are today, right?
Okay.
So right now we're in the summertime. It's dealing with COVID. A lot of people have a lot of things going on. I feel like people are in one of three groups. Either something's happened to them, their job, their career. Maybe everything's changed, or maybe they've had to close a business.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody's been sitting home for the past 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, and they're like, I don't like my life right now.
Yeah.
I need to make a shift. I like this part of it.
Yeah.
but how am I going to keep going this pathway? Because the reality is that every one of our futures is one decision away, right?
100%.
So we're deciding every day what we're getting ready to go towards, right? So when I get into my car and I put my GPS on, if I'm going to LA, I put in LA. I don't put in Chicago, and I don't just jump in my car and drive.
Hopefully not.
Because I'm trying to get somewhere. I have done that on occasion. There's been some of those long nights. Yeah,
we're
you
all
need a little
guilty of it. We're all guilty.
But you know that. But the reality of it is and then there's people that are leading organizations or leading businesses, and they're like, man, I gotta reinvent something in this time because it's not going to look like what it used to. Here's the reality. It's never going to look like what it used to. If you had COVID or not, it's never going to look the same. And so one of the reasons that we struggle, all of us at times, we don't lack resources. We lack ideas, right? So we lack resourcing. Resourcing. So how do I resource? So my ideas come from what I'm exposed to. So sometimes, like you guys just took off, went to Cabo. You went to a different environment. You were able to expose yourself, change your state of mind, and be in a place where you could focus. But you were also around other people that helped, begin to fire off ideas. And so
exactly
people
right.
can get stale. So, I love McDonald's, which don't hate.
Okay.
I like McDonald's French fries. Don't judge mine. This has been built by McDonald's, so I ain't turning on them right now. And I'm trying to keep the economy going.
No mayo, extra ranch.
Yeah. So, but French fries. So French
and
fries
stay open. They open.
Yeah, they're open. Some are 24 hours.
Sure.
So we support our local businesses.
100%.
That's what I'm about.
Yep.
But French fries are great. But you know what sucks? Is old fries.
For sure.
Cold fries. I mean, you have a window of like 5 minutes to eat because after that, all of a sudden they look the same.
Yeah.
Do you notice we could leave them on this counter for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
They're not going to change. A year they're going to look the same.
And heating them back up it's not the same.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So
different.
That's what happens with our ideas. And when we think of where we are and how we need new ideas and we need new resourcing. And part of the way that happens that I've seen for me and a lot of people is who you're connected to.
Okay.
And who you're connecting to. And so some of those relationships are powerful. And many times a lot of that happens intentionally, but it also happens by accident. So what do I mean? You put yourselves into Cabo, you had an intention of what you were going to do, but when you got there, it actually took on a whole new life of its own, bigger than what you thought. Am I right?
For sure. Every time.
Spot on.
So that's part of what I say. Like when I say like I want to be around people that have big ideas, people that are hungry, people that are doing things. Because even if you're in a different industry, even if I'm in Nicaragua, and you and I have been there, Austin, together. We've sat and talked about what they've accomplished, doing an entrepreneurs conference there last November. So there's awesome things. Even being there when I don't even speak the whole language, being in that environment, it's contagious.
Yep.
But it's just as contagious as being around people that aren't hungry and don't have big ideas.
Right. So I love amazing, phenomenal. Right. We're opening up the show with just fire, and I love that. And we're getting better and better at that, and bringing guests on that we know are going to spit that fire because that's what we want to do, right? Well, not only, it's funny, Todd. Me and maybe you heard us say this, maybe you haven't, but when we made this show, I said, really the show is about us. Actually, it's like a selfish play. I was like, we get an excuse to interview really cool people like you, and it just so happens we get to share it with the world. But it's like the law of association, right? So, they say, you end up like the 5 people you hang out with. And you see that kind of float around on social media, I feel like.
Yeah, sure.
And it's kind of lighthearted. It's kind of like whatever. You repost it, right? You're like, oh, that's cool, And then I think you still see a lot of people that go home and smoke a bong with their friends. And it's like, what you just posted that your 5 people are like, right. And it's like, it doesn't register with people for some reason. Like they think that their friends, it's like, no, but like that applies to everybody else. But like my friends, it's cool. We just play a little Xbox here and there.
Yeah.
We like to watch Netflix for like 4 or 5 hours. Then we go, we smoke a blunt and we do. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like that post it's describing your life actually.
Now, mind you have it, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly. Okay. If you want to do that stuff, and you don't want to go out there and make it happen, and you want to stay stagnant, and you don't want to continue to grow, then keep doing that. That's totally fine, right?
It's when
when you complain about it.
Yes,
right.
That is good.
When you personally think that you're the victim of your current situation, and you look at your results, what do they say back in the good old network marketing days? What you see is what you do, and what you do creates your actions. Your actions create your results, and your results create your life.
Your destiny. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Because
For
look
sure.
at, you got people all the time, Todd, and you know this to be true, that they're fine working a minimum wage job.
Yes.
They're fine going home and sitting on the recliner at 5, 6 o'clock at night. And I know a lot of people that are genuinely happy with that.
do that.
But then I know this other group of people where they do these different things. They hang out with these different people and they're not happy and they don't change.
Yep.
That's the problem. Those are the people that are in that area of life where it's like, the problem lies in the fact that you're the one. The definition of insanity, they say back in the day, right, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Don't happen.
Right? So if you want to change, you know, Todd just said, I mean, he just spoke it perfectly. Go back and re-listen to that, rewatch it. You know, get around people that have what you want. You want good energy? Get around people that have good energy. You want to make more money? Get around people that make more money. You want better relationships? Get around people that have good relationships.
Yep.
You know, you got to get around people that have what you want, and it won't be very long before you have the exact same thing.
100%. You want to get on fire for God, you got to get around people that are on fire for
For
God.
sure, right?
You know what I mean?
It applies to any area of life, and I think a lot of people don't understand the simplicity of that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Back in the day, I would say it was around 2000, right? So I'm that old to actually work somewhere in 2000, right? So this company called Cardone Industries in Northeast Philadelphia, they're automotive remanufacturers, still privately held, do over $1 billion a year, okay? Old man starts it with just a wiper motor in South Philly, Italian guy, I'm Italian too, so he starts this, just making extra money. They would throw all the old parts away. And so they would junk them. That's what they did with them back in the 60s, 70s. So you would get the old part taken off, it goes into the junker. So he took some of these, thought, oh, I could rebuild mine, got it fixed, and he started rebuilding other ones. He's like, can I take these for free? And they were like, sure.
Have 'em.
Yeah, because we're paying somebody to take them away, so you can have them. That's how that business started, from just wiper motor and and then they expanded to product lines. Now you go there, their distribution center is over 1 million square feet.
That's
So 1 million square feet of distribution center.
Crazy.
And they're in brand info. But here's the point. I went through, they have factory workers. There's factory workers that work, 4,000 or 5,000 employees in Philly, right? And everybody from taking in the old parts and they clean them and they take them apart and then they fix what's wrong with them and they put them back and they repaint them and they make them better than what they were before. But there's people that spent careers in those jobs, right? And that's what they chose, and they were happy to do it. So to your point, I'm not putting anybody down. You choose what you want, but here's the thing. There's some people who hear something and see something different.
For sure.
We're all in the same environment. But when I heard that CEO speak, when I sat with Mr. Cardone, Michael Cardone Jr., his son had taken over, dude, I was so inspired. I was inspired in a couple ways. Number one, how somebody could go out and have come from nothing and start a business worth billions of dollars, right? Millions, hundreds of millions at least. Number two, that they could take their platform and impact people's lives.
Wow.
I saw this guy sit here and he's like, I don't need any more. We sat in a conference room like this, just me and another guy, and we're having lunch. And he said, he's like, Todd, I don't have to work.
Yeah.
I don't.
For sure.
I do it because I love doing it. And also I know I have a greater purpose. And this is important. If you are constantly looking to rest and to take off and to not do anything and not work on anything, really what the fundamental part is, it laziness? Yeah, but really you lack purpose. So sometimes people's laziness is a lack of understanding the purpose for their life.
Oof.
That if you grab a hold that my purpose for my life, I have to do this.
Right.
I am driven. Not only do I like it, and I want to enjoy nice things, which is great, but there's a bigger purpose. We were put here with people.
Yeah.
There's a whole world, and you and I have traveled, and so part of it is understanding, man, there's a purpose for my life. I didn't just get here by accident. I don't even care how somebody got here. I don't care if your mama and daddy, was a one-night stand in Old Town, and then they got their stamp at the front, and that was the last time they ever saw. You're here because of a reason.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And your platform is only as big as you build it.
Yep.
And so it can be bigger. And so whatever that platform is, or people are called to different things. But the truth is that many people just miss the fact that, man, my life has purpose. If you have purpose, then guess what? Your marriage becomes easier and you won't give up as easy on it because you realize we have a purpose for us being together. Yeah. When you're starting a business, you guys know this. You stick to it because you understand there's a purpose in accomplishing and building this business. You don't give up because you lost your client, you don't have your funding, you lost your place of business, you lost your office. You don't give up. Yeah. Because you understand there's a business purpose in it. You may redirect it. You may have to say, hey, we got to reorganize. We're going to go in this direction. But there's always an opportunity. Every day we wake up, do you know what happens here in Arizona? The sun comes up.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Every day.
Yep.
No matter how bad it is, the sun comes up every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if it seems gloomy, the sun's coming up tomorrow.
For sure.
And people have to see, you and I have to see this, that there's purpose, and that's what drives me, and that I'm not going to settle for anything less. But if it's working on a line, if I'm a school teacher, whatever it is, that's great. If maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and that's what you want to do, and you want to have a side business, and that's fine. But there's also people that sit at home, like you said, and post things and post things and post things. At some point, your actions are tattletaling on you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they prove what you really believe. And at some point, you got to turn the corner.
I love it.
And not just seem it, but be it.
I
You've
love
heard
that.
me say this before. One of my favorite phrases is esse quam videre. It's a Latin phrase, but it just means to be rather than to seem. That so many people are trying to seem like something rather than to be something. And that has to do with purpose. Seeming like I'm building my business so I can look like I can be, rather than just, I want to be this person. I want to be, a man or a woman. I want to have a great career. I want to have a great lifestyle. I want to be a great parent if that's what you want. Like all of these things feed into my purpose.
I love that. Incredible. Wow. Unbelievable. Couple things. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more, actually. I have a question for you, and then I want to dive into your background, how you got to where you're at, how you are now, who you are. But for the people watching, for the people listening, what if somebody's struggling to understand what their purpose is in life right now? I've read the book. I think it might have been recommended by you and a couple of other incredible individuals called, I think it's Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren.
Yes.
Phenomenal book, okay? Phenomenal book. I think you got to read it like every day for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I can't remember what exactly the length of time is.
Like 40 days or something like that.
Yeah, really good though. I've done it a couple times now. But for people that maybe that's the first time ever even hearing about that book, maybe they've never read that book. They don't have people in their life to kind of help guide, coach, and mentor them. Like, how does somebody find their purpose?
So first of all, I would say that book. You do the research on it. Anybody can do the research on it. There isn't a book that sold more copies than that book. Like it's broke. Like
isn't it like
not the Bible, but like
I was gonna say, isn't it like
for
next
its category? There is nothing. There's no other book that sold.
Doesn't
more.
it almost even go like the Bible? Then like
like it's insane.
Yeah,
right. It's insane. And so, which speak to again, what do businesses serve and the best speeches serve? What do the best messages serve and need? Right? They meet a need, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a need for purpose in every single person's life. I don't care if you believe in God or not. There's a purpose. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
What are you living for?
You're just going through the motions, aren't you?
Honestly, it just wouldn't matter at that point. It won't matter.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Like it won't matter. Life won't matter.
Yeah.
But when there's purpose, it changes everything. So for me, I would say, when we think about what we said earlier, ideas change us, right? So I got to get exposed to new ideas. I got to change the programming. So one, I would highly recommend, which I've said this a million times, because it's the same thing. I still go back and read it periodically for my own life because it walks you through a process. So if we want to change something, it takes a process. So I would definitely say that. And I also would say, get yourself around people who seem to be dialed in on a purpose. They don't have to be perfect, but they need to be a purpose-driven person.
Oh.
Yep.
So being around people that are kind of focused, and you've had some great guests. I went back and watched some of your shows.
Yeah.
Which you guys do an amazing job, by the way.
Yeah.
I love what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
Really
you both
appreciate
have
that.
purpose on your life. You both are driving after something even more than the accolades and more the accomplishments, which are important because they're markers for us. But at the same time, I know you both are people of purpose. So, even going through some of the guests that have been hard, when you listen, remember, what I said was when people listen and see things, sometimes people hear. I was in Cardone Industries. I'm there with everybody else. But what I heard and what I saw was something different, and it propelled me into want to start my own business to make a difference.
It's like the
and do all
saying
those
that
things.
the teacher appears and the student's ready, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So true.
But so it's starting with, I begin to resource somewhere, start with that book, start getting around people that have purpose and seem to be living some kind of purpose. And number three is saying, I'm going to be committed come hell or high water to doing this. When I live in Fountain Hills, right? So I love living there. It's a lot of the houses where I grew up in Jersey, right? So go Philly, go Eagles, the best team on the planet. I'm sorry, Austin, but they just are.
He's a Hawks fan.
People want to throw on Philly, cast stones on us. Like we only started the country, so excuse me. We only have
Throwing
that guy.
bricks.
Anyway, let's not get into that. But I lost my train of thought.
Here's where we can go right now, and then it'll come back to
Okay.
you. Let's do this because it ties in perfectly. I'll come back to you. Take us back in time a little bit, right? And walk us through. You grew up in Philly.
Yes.
And so, talk to us about that. Did you grow up with your parents?
Yeah,
What did that look and feel like for you?
I was one of the most luckiest guys in the world.
Okay.
Because I have both of my parents who are really awesome people. Grew up in South Jersey, about 25 minutes outside of Philly.
Yeah.
And both of my parents met in high school about 30 minutes from where I grew up, 20 minutes from where I grew up.
Sweet.
So like they grew up there. It was, I was really blessed. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. They're not as smart as me and they're not as good looking, but you know what? When you
Yeah.
pour it out, the
Yeah.
first one, when you got less, you deal with what you got.
And it's like you can't change that,
Hey,
right?
they
Like
s-
it's like, hey,
You know what?
You have to live with that now.
I do, and it's across the bear, but they serve a purpose, and that's
sure.
why they're here.
Right.
But I love my family dearly. My dad's Italian, and so there was like family unit was big. So we, that was a big thing growing up with my cousins and family and around food and entertaining. And so we had so many people over the years even live with us. My dad was a pastor. So, by the time I was 15, I was on a mission field in Haiti, in the middle of nowhere, working on an orphanage, helping build stuff and like no water, no electricity.
Yep.
It was like something out of National Geographic.
Wait, just to put in perspective for me, give me a year. When would that have been?
So that was 1985.
Wow,
Was
okay.
my first trip.
In Haiti.
First trip out of the country.
Wow.
I remember saying to my dad, I want to do this. Sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Then he's like, you're going to need to come up with the money. And I was like, that does not sound cool at all.
No,
You're
no,
like,
Not anymore.
Wait, this was supposed to be your dime, right? Like you pay for stuff.
Right.
And he's like,
Never
well, you
mind,
need to
Dad.
raise some of it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll do part. But it was the best thing for me. He was all about working hard. So all of us having to work. Jobs and so I was 15. I
Wow,
show up there.
okay.
I was like, it was no internet. There was no.
None of that even
None of it
existed, right? I mean,
No.
especially not there.
No, we would go to the town where they had a phone center, and you would like once a week you make a call back home and just say everything's cool. So I was there, went to Belize, been to Mexico tons of times, Central America, Guatemala, Nicaragua, been to Europe. I've had the blessing to work on been in a lot of different countries and exposed to a lot of things. And so anyway, so I ended up doing that, met my wife at church. And so we got married. I was like 23 when we got
Wow.
married.
Sweet.
So I was young. And 2 years later, we had my daughter. So, so we lived in South Jersey, worked in church, and I always had side business. I always had a side hustle. Always.
Really?
When I was a kid, I shoveled
Wasn't that
snow.
the New Jersey thing though too?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And most
Having a
of
bunch of
it was
hustles.
legal, which was great.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Almost all of it, right?
You got to understand, like I went, and I went to culinary school too. So out
Sure.
of high school, I go to culinary school.
No
I-
wonder you're such a good cook. We
Yeah.
still haven't had some.
We
I
still
know.
haven't had
I
Todd
should
cook
have
for us.
done that.
is
That's what I
Man.
should have done for this
We're
show.
gonna do it soon.
Is brought food
on
and
the
actually
thing.
did it. Yeah.
We'll have to just do a part two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I go to culinary school because I love to cook, but I worked for it was Pine Valley. It's one of the top golf clubs in the entire world. Anybody
Wow.
who's a golfer knows. They'll look it up. They'll be
Pine
like,
Valley.
yeah,
Is that
Pine
that's
Valley.
in Philly?
exclusive. It's in South Jersey.
South Jersey, okay.
Super exclusive. You can't get in. It's old money, but even back then, it was just a magical place. But as a kid,
Yep.
you don't realize what a big deal it is.
Of course.
But I got exposed to a lot of different people in that environment that really weren't part of my core. Then I went to culinary school. I got to work. I had to do some co-ops, so I went to work for this butcher guy. Remember in Rocky, the guy where he's hitting the meat, Esposito's?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he came out of that place, which is the Italian market in South Philly. And so he came out, started a business. I started working with him, doing gourmet stuff. So I learned to cut meat. But I worked with all these characters, right? Everybody had a nickname. I mean, we had people that would come in, from the mob at times, come in.
Yeah.
like,
For sure.
You had some of those different characters, but then funny people, like just
Yeah.
characters, like Crazy Herb, and all these, Fat Vince, who was a number writer. You place bets if you wanted, if you needed money, you could get, which would not be a good idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Unless you
I
could
can only
pay
imagine. Yeah.
back with
Back.
points,
Right.
But I was exposed to a lot, and a lot of hustle, and a lot of it was good, and a lot of it was illegal. But the point was, I got to see hustle, and I thought, man. I go to work, a friend of mine says, you're so good with people. He said, look, we're trying to get you, we want to do business valuations. We're trying to find companies that can buy and sell. We just want you to go out and do interviews and then just see their financials, hear their story, plug it into this program, and you learn rudimentary, and then we'll send it off to the accounting for evaluation. We just need that first front-facing, belly-to-belly conversation. So I do that. In a year's time, I met with over 100, probably about 160 businesses.
Wow.
Between
Crazy.
Boston and Virginia, Southern Virginia. And I
crazy.
would travel. Every week I could do 4 or 5 a week.
And you were in your
Sheesh.
20s?
I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I'd never done this before.
Right,
also.
right.
Like I'm just like trying to hustle, make money.
Hustle.
And I'm like,
Sure.
And then some of them, like, were selling, the valuation was done by another country.
And you were doing this on the side, right?
On the side.
Weren't you in the church?
So I was in the church. My dad was the senior pastor, but I
Right.
did everything. I mean, I've trained in everything. So, and I knew that was that's part of my life, will always be part of my life.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So God makes us, when you look at it, you're like a big pizza pie. We got a bunch of slices to us. So,
Yeah.
that's
I
one
like
of
that.
mine. And so, so I just loved it. But I realized when I sat down with so many people between Cardone, between the other business, and between this,
Yeah.
I kept hearing story after story. And some of these people, they didn't go to college. They didn't have great backgrounds. They weren't famous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they were making tons of money. And they loved doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And even in small businesses, making a couple hundred, like you would look at them and think, man, these people work so hard, making a couple $100,000 a year,
Yep.
or making 125, or maybe making 500. And
Right.
it's like, I left after that, during the course of that year, something shifted in me that awakened something inside of me. Remember, we're talking about being in the environment.
Yep.
Seeds that are planted in the right soil grow.
Yeah.
So that was definitely me. I was a seed, and the whole way things were happening to me, I didn't even
You're getting watered.
Yeah, I'm getting watered, and next thing you know, I'm just as smart as this guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like this lady, like she's a great person, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm actually,
Like, you could do it
I think
too.
I'm smarter than they are.
yeah,
Like,
right, for
why
sure.
am I doing this? Like,
Right.
Yeah. And it also exposed me to money. So for up until that point, I'd never really made a lot of money. Right. So I remember one week coming back and I got my first check for like $8,000, $8,500 for 1 week. And I was like, is this, like, it's just like, if you've never made any money,
You don't even understand it, right?
Yeah. If you're making like 500 or 700.
Yeah. You don't even
800.
realize of the abundance. Like you
Right.
don't. It's hard to wrap your brain around, right?
Yeah.
It's like okay, other people make a lot of money, but you don't think about it.
No,
Yeah.
no. But that journey, so all those were seeds. And I think it's important. You look at your life. It doesn't matter where you came from, whether you had great parents like me or not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It only matters from here forward. You live your life forward. And so all of those things started me on a journey. We started a business bringing in students from China and Korea, which was amazing. So they exchange program. So they come here, go to private school, stay with the family. That was amazing. And then we're like, hey, that's good. Why don't we start a tour company?
Yeah.
They could come over a couple weeks earlier and then see
do a
stuff.
tour.
So we did that. We got paid for that
Sure,
handsomely.
sure.
Yeah.
And I remember first time we did that, we just did a small group, and I remember going to the hotel and like everybody paid with cash. And I remember coming back up to the room with an envelope, and I'm like, there's like $45,000.
Yeah.
In this thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
What the heck? Like,
Yeah.
all we're doing is providing, like, we're hosting people.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Crazy.
but again, it opened up my mind
For sure.
to say serving a need. And then we ended up starting a college coaching program. Same thing. Help them get to college. They didn't speak the language, everybody, families, helping them to our goal was to try to find them the best university college match for their future.
Yeah.
So anyway, did
Powerful.
that and worked in churches from small to big, and got into missions the past few years again
Right.
to help build partnerships in 2 countries, Nicaragua and Zimbabwe, specifically with Rick Warren's peace plan, but trying to work on, projects that can work within local communities to help people. So
Wow.
whether it's not just feeding, we start with feeding and meeting needs. The second part, which is what we started at the end of last year, was like, how do we start entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Or how do we come along? So one of the churches in Nicaragua, they're 18, 20,000 a weekend. I got to speak there 7 times between Thursday and Sunday.
That's huge.
And they have an entrepreneur school.
Wow.
And they're just trying to raise, because
So
that's the
cool.
change, right? You can't.
So cool.
You're not going to depend on the government. You're not going to depend on your parents. You're not going to depend. At some point, the biggest obstacle you have is the man in the mirror.
Sure.
For sure.
And so getting people to, again, look at new ideas, be able to think differently, put other people around them to, again, say, like, you can do this.
Yeah.
You have amazing resources in Nicaragua.
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a lot
for
of
sure.
ways you could make money, and people are doing it.
Yeah.
And you are no different than them. You are
Yeah.
no different than them.
Yeah.
I'll say it one more
I
time.
love that.
Whoever's listening to this,
Yeah.
you are no different
No
than
different.
them.
Yeah.
The difference is they had an idea that they followed through on, and they never gave up. They never gave up.
Yeah.
And they were okay with the fact that it might take some time. I know you had John Malott on.
Yeah.
And he talked about his span, and other people have talked about their span of time. There are no overnight successes, and you got to be committed. Look, you want to live a long life? I do.
For
Then
sure.
Let me just be committed for the long haul. Let me do what I need to do now, but be committed. Enjoy the wins, but be committed to the long haul. Be committed to purpose in my life. My purpose in my life is not just my bank account.
Yeah, I love that, man.
It's just not just that. It's part of what I believe, but that's not the only marker.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
There's 1,000 ways to get. I love that. I'm loving where this is going.
Yeah,
what
for sure.
you got on your mind, Austin?
Well, it just
Austin Lewis
brought to me your old point with where you were going, but you forgot. And I don't know if how many shows that you've seen all the time. We have our trusty reminder over here, but he don't remind us of nothing.
We got Justin,
So
but
the
he does after the fact. He sends us a little blooper.
Yeah, a little blooper.
You know what I mean?
Last show, Austin, we had Matt Maddox here. Absolutely incredible. I mean, stud soul is just incredible.
Yeah.
And
phenomenal. Have you ever had the opportunity to meet Matt Maddox?
No, I've not met him.
Oh my gosh,
we gotta
it changed your
intro this
entire
to
life.
Oh, unbelievably. Austin forgot what he said. I said, I forgot what you said. And then Matt Maddox, we said, hey, do you remember what we said? And he said, I forgot. But I do remember what you were going for. You were talking about how you live in Fountain Hills and that whole process.
Yeah, so Fountain Hills is different from Jersey, where I grew up. There are a lot of houses in my neighborhood were all the same.
Okay.
Just different variations, but pretty much the same. They built kind of the same ones. You go through Philly, you see the row homes are kind of the same. The Fountain Hills is a little bit different because it was developed over time, right? And so what happens is you have these different houses on the canyon, which I love some of those canyons. I never had anything like that.
Right.
Of course
they're
not,
just gorgeous, right? So, but when you go and you look at them, basically what it is people bought land.
Yeah.
And before they put a shovel in the ground, they decide what they're going to build.
Yeah.
And then when they build, it doesn't matter what they build. Guess what they're going to have to do is dig up a lot of rock.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a lot. Where in Jersey, you just could dig out and build people have basements, and so it's pretty common.
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah, no.
It's gonna, if you want a basement, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that, that they don't give up halfway.
Right.
Yeah.
Any one of those houses I saw were awesome, right?
go.
Yeah.
But
They do the
nobody
whole
ever
thing.
walks in. Like I've done tours or gone to my friend's house. I'm like, God,
Yeah.
dude, this house is gorgeous, man. Whoever designed this was smart. You guys follow. But nobody's ever like, whoa, check out this foundation.
Yeah.
How sexy
sure.
is that?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what went into that foundation?
Nobody,
Right?
Yeah.
nobody thinks about it because it's the things people don't see. It's
Sure.
the people and the time you put in that nobody else knows about that matters the most, and it's that foundational pieces of your life that make the most difference. And because you can build fast. But you can get knocked over really fast too,
For sure.
100%.
and then not having the right foundation. So what's cool about Fountain Hills is, again, you look at these, and I'm always reminded of that. Like you see the jackhammers out there, and they're just pulling out these giant rocks, and it's like you can build anything you want there.
Yeah.
You have $5-10 million homes there that somebody decided to build, but they had to stick to it.
Incredible.
And the bigger you go, the more the foundation the deeper and stronger the foundation has to be. So if you have big dreams, you better be willing to put in a big
To whom much is given, much is required, right?
Yes. Oof.
So that leads me right into an amazing question that I was thinking a little while ago, Todd. And my goal here on this podcast is to start challenging our guests a little bit more. You know what I mean?
A little bit more. Slightly.
I've noticed something. We've interviewed 29, 30 people now, and I've noticed something. And I just noticed it right now.
Okay.
Every time, and this goes with life. This is life.
Right.
This is life.
Yeah.
When you sit somebody down and you ask them about their story, it's like Instagram. They give you the highlight reel.
For sure.
Of their life. They walk you through, they skip, and different, depending on the guest, depending on the person you're talking to, that they go, they'll start when they're younger, and then they'll jump 5 years, and then 5 years again, and then 5 years again, because they want to get through the story. People know your average, intelligent, emotionally intelligent human being doesn't want to, you're not going to spend 3 hours telling your story.
Right, of course.
So what we all do is we all get really good at telling our story in a way that is entertaining and whatever, right?
No
What
trials and
nobody
tribulations.
does is go through the crap. I've never said, hey man, what's your story? And they're like, well, I got divorced when I was right. People don't do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I believe in the bottom of my heart that it's the trials and tribulations of life that make a person be able to possess the qualities that people are after.
Yes.
So when you look at people on TV, on social media, on the A&A show, on Instagram, it's actually not the highlight reel that typically made them that way.
Right.
It's the BS, right? It's the trials and tribulations. And so, my question for you would just be like, what are just one or two of the biggest things in your life to date that you in the moment were just like, man, you weren't 100% sure about the outcome. You were not like it. That there's
Really
these couple moments are what molded you. What are those?
I want you to think about that as I bounce off what Austin's gonna say. So make sure those two things that you share that really hit some people here, and that be him and I. Okay. Right. So, but I think Austin, just to talk on that subject, and I just realized that as you said that, right? Because it's the absolute truth.
Sure.
I think, and this is deep, that whatever it is that you're going through, you'll go through it.
For sure.
Nothing can really stop you.
Time's going to go by either way.
Either way. The stuff that these individuals are talking about and telling their story, and when we tell our story, and we don't tell you the hardships, we don't tell you all of the stuff that people don't want to go through, but people are going through it. Just understand that you're going to get through it.
Sure.
Because
and it's one of the hardest
has.
things in the world to understand.
Exactly.
Which is why, and we've all been there.
Yeah.
And which is why I want to start having our guests explain a little bit more often, a couple of the big things that they've gone through that in that moment, they weren't 100% sure about
it. It was going to conquer them. They were going to conquer it.
Because in retrospect, it's easy, man. It's easy looking in retrospect and saying, oh, I went through this, or this.
Yeah.
But it's not easy in the moment sometimes.
No.
A lot of people are struggling relationships, struggling financially, spiritually. Give us just a couple, Todd.
Yeah, so it's a really good point. So let me think about, so it's early on. I'm married, as I said, I got married early, so it's probably like 25.
Okay.
Working in the church, we're moving the building, and like every week we're sitting there, like we're doing a lot of work ourselves, like just helping support, like get this thing done, trying to save money, doing a lot of physical labor plus working. And so I forget, it was in the 90s, but anyway, so I get this job over in Philly working for this company, and we'd sell these summits, these business summits. So what would happen is they would have these solutions from software companies, and we would put them together at like the Peabody. We would do these elaborate 3-day weekend events. So it was buyer and seller. And to even show up to this event, you had to command budgets of millions of dollars and be in the market for whatever the topic was for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So in today's world, let's just say it was social media branding. But the only people that could come is if, you were looking to hire somebody and you were going to be spending maybe $2 million plus.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then, but over the course of the weekend, we only had 10 providers of those services, the top people, and then like 10 to 12 other people who are going to buy it. And then they would just spend time in the week and play golf, hang out, party, and all this stuff. So we were selling that, right, to vendors.
Got it.
So it was really exciting, and it was doing really great. And I'm in Philly, work with one of my best friends in the world. We have a great time. We get on the train every day going to Philly. I'm like, this is really cool. It'd be funny. It was all on the phone, pretty much most of it, because we're going all over the world. And go at 14th floor, right by City Hall, right downtown, to Penn Center, right down the street from. We had a window office, so this corner and this corner, just looking out. It was the best office I've ever been in. For sure, it was beautiful. And until one day they came in and said, "Hey, look, we're closing this office. It's not working out. We're going to go move everything back to." They had a Manhattan office. They're like, you can go back to Manhattan. And it was like all of a sudden, like I'm just like, I'm on the verge of making some of the most money I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to do. My network is getting ready to explode just because of the people that we're dealing with. And it was like the whole, and I have a daughter, who's young at the time. I mean, she might have been 4 or 5, and Tony was staying home. So it was just like, man, I'm just finally hitting, we had a house, and I'm finally getting ready to take the next step. And all of a sudden I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? Because at that time, that job was pretty much all commission.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we had this big, huge salaries because we made a lot on the commission side. But I'm like, man, I'm going from like making money, and there was no severance or nothing. They're like, you can come to Manhattan if you want. And I'm like, I knew I wasn't called to do. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. A lot farther away,
right?
Lifestyle, time with what I needed to do. And I remember coming and we went and clearing out the desk. My daughter's with me. And I remember just this moment walking in, we're clearing everything out of the desk. I'm putting the stuff in a backpack, and I'm just getting ready to go back on the train. I'm trying to make it fun for her. She doesn't know.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, and at the time, I was stupid because I had maxed out a bunch of stuff. I went and spent on some stuff I shouldn't have spent on because I thought, man, I'm getting ready to rock and roll.
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
I'm in my 20s.
You're on the verge of greatness.
I'm like, this
in your mind at the time.
Oh, I was.
Explain to me how you felt in that moment. I mean, elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you were right before that happened?
Well, 2 things happened. Like one thing was my dad's voice in my head, like, I don't think you should do that. Like, you need to wait a little bit. Make sure this is like really good. I remember thinking like, he doesn't understand. Like, he doesn't understand like the level I'm at. Like, I know he loved me and he cares me, but like that, you don't know the baller I am.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like, I know you believe in me, but I'm ready to put that. I'm going to put out some fire.
Love it.
And no, but that moment was heartbreaking in the sense that it was a huge reality check. As famously said, Mike Tyson said, like, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Sure.
Well, that was my punch in the face moment. And coming home and then not being able to find something right away.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a lot of margin. I didn't have a lot of savings, and I had spent money, and I'm like, I got obligations now, and I got a family depending on me. It's not just me. And I remember riding home like, this poor little kid has nothing to do with this. She doesn't decide, kids don't decide where they're born.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like my whole life when she was first born and they put her in my arms, I still remember coming home to my house. They were still in the hospital. I come home, the lights off in my living room, and I'm just thinking like, oh my God, it's such a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe they let me do this. Like, I don't know, like, if people really know me, I should have taken a class or something. Like, isn't there a licensing process? And I remember just that moment hit me like, I'm responsible. I am responsible. One for me is one thing, but when you're responsible for somebody, every man, every dad that's a great dad, you do two things. You want to provide and protect for your family.
Absolutely.
So when those things don't happen, and I work with a lot of guys, even successful guys, anything that touches that will really pretty much shake a man more than a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
Even though the other things shake you, they don't shake you like that because somebody else is actually looking to that. It's part of you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, that was a really hard moment for months going through, and I actually took a job. I took a job delivering papers. Like every day, because I'm like, I got to start making, like, I got to hustle with something. I got to start doing something like for myself. So I'm like, my friend did detailing. He was moving. I'm like, I could do that. I'm like, I have this sense that my wife always teases me. Like, I have this sense I could pretty much do anything.
Yeah,
if other people do it, I'm like, she's like, you know nothing about cars. I'm like, I don't need to. How hard is it? Like, you're just detailing cars, you're washing them, right?
Yeah.
I get a buffer.
Right.
I remember getting this dude I know. I'm like, yo, can I practice on your truck? Like, and so I get I have a graphic designer, I make up flyers, I go around. I just literally, within like 4 days,
You're a mobile detailer.
I'm a mobile detailer. That's exactly what, because I didn't have a spot. I was going to the offices. I'm going around giving flyers out. So I'm just trying to get anything I can. But going through the paper route was hard because first thing in the morning, I hate the mornings.
Yeah.
That's hard for me.
Okay.
I'm a late night guy, but the mornings are tough, especially when your life is sucky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's even worse. And it's by yourself. It's dark. Nobody's up. And I'm delivering. I'm like, this is my life.
Yep.
Like, what? Like, this is going to be my life. Like, there's two voices in everybody's head, right?
Yeah.
And they always, at every opportunity, every cross line in your life, you have fear and faith that always show up. Fear will always speak to you, but faith will always speak to you. And what is faith? It's just saying, hey, there's a possibility this could change. There's a possibility this could change. I know it changed in other people's life. It could change them up. But the other side is that this is going to take you down. You're not like that person. You're not good enough. You screwed up your family. Look at this. Your poor kid. What are you going to do? Next month, you got to come up money for the rent. You got to come up money for her schooling. You got to come, like, what you going to do, man? Like, so it's this, that part is it's easy to say here. And I'm so glad you said this because there's so many moments like that. And then even us moving out here, it's a long story. You guys know some of the story. Went through a lot with our daughter, who was a teenager, and then we found out some stuff happened in her life that was offended on her that she didn't ask for, but just kind of came out from when she was younger, and it turned my life upside down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in a way that at the time I thought I had everything figured out. Like, I was in a good vein. I'd taken over my dad's church. We had a side business. I was on like our city council for entrepreneur or for business development for this town and city. Like, I was on a couple boards, and it was just like my life was great. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this comes up, train wreck. And there's things, the things that we struggle with the most are the things we don't have control over, right?
Absolutely.
So there are things we don't have control over. Life happens. And so for me, it was like, what are we going to do? It was all about making sure my daughter was safe and getting her help that she needed. And it put us on a journey, which decided, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll do anything for her. So we literally took off, merged church, sold our house. Everything I thought my life would be was in an instant, within a year or so, was like totally different. We just literally packed up and moved out here. My parents had moved here, but we didn't know anybody else. I'd never been to Arizona other than just visiting my parents. And they'd only been here a few years before that. So we literally picked up, and I said, you know what? I was riding down Shea, and I had this moment of like, I felt like this is where we're supposed to move. It was really clear. And for me, I'm a guy of faith. So for me, it was like, God was like, I'm just going to give you what you need when you need it.
Yeah.
There's an old story in the Old Testament talks about, and even history talks about the wandering of the Israelites in the desert, but they got what they need when they needed it. Right?
Sure.
Like different things would happen. And that's what happened in my life, man. It was like one thing after the next. Once we decided to go there, even it was a huge leap of faith. And so for me, it was literally being willing to give up everything that I thought would be, that was good things, for an unknown I didn't know.
Right.
But I knew we could make it. I knew At least I hope so. So it was either I'm walking my family off a cliff or this is
Yeah.
going to be the best thing ever. And so then coming out here, I didn't have a job. We had our company that we were still doing. We had some money, so I had some margin, leased a house, beautiful house. And I'm like, we just got to figure it out. So we literally just picked up everything. My wife's from Philly, so our whole lives were there, and just picked up and came out here. But one thing after the next, opportunity after opportunity happened. But it happened because of, to kind of come full circle, was one, in my head, it was like, this is a reason, and I got to get associated with new people. Number two, I got to get resourced. And there's resourcing comes through people. It doesn't fall out of the sky.
Sure.
It's everything we have comes through somebody. So was able to make great connections with Andre. You know, he knew my dad from before. We got together, and it was just like, he was great, cared about me and my family, and, you know, got involved with them. And I'm like, you don't even have to pay me, man. I'll help you. I love doing this stuff for like a group at church and stuff. I did some leadership stuff, spoke. And the next thing you know, I went in one day and they're like, hey, would you come on as executive pastor? Like, I never actually put in a resume or anything. Like,
Right,
it just happened after being like a year there, but it was the right timing. But I think a big part of it is everybody has a calling to a place and people.
Yeah.
And that changes sometimes. Some people stay the same place for a really long time, but some people don't. So there's people in your lives that are like this building. And so this office building, which you guys, is a beautiful office here. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
But this office has some things in it, and it's very important. And whoever's watching this, think about wherever you are, look around. Because there's pillars in that, in your house or in your office. You can't move those. Those have to stay. And they stay there pretty much forever. But the walls and stuff, they can be shifted around. We can make this bigger, make the studio bigger. We could put more offices to have more employees. We could do lots of stuff, but we can't change the pillars.
Yeah.
So in my life and in your life, there's certain people that are like pillars, and then there's some other people that are just like rooms that kind of come and go. You know, you've heard me use the example before. It's almost like scaffolding in a building. It serves a purpose for a while, and then it's gone. It's never meant to be there forever. So understanding as you get older that there's people you need, there's pillars that got, you know, you just don't get rid of everybody in your life. If that's you, then that's a problem. Right? It's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, it's another conversation.
You need a couple of pillars.
Yeah, if it's always you, then you're a solo act. That's a problem.
Yeah.
But you need some pillars. But you also need to be able to understand that rooms change.
Wow. Yeah.
And be able to ride it. So for me, that's the kind of discovery I came on with all of that. And since then, because of that, you know, because of the hardship, because of the pain, met incredible people, met you guys, met a lot of people, Andre, and so many other business people, so many other people that, one, have helped me and I've helped them.
Sure.
So again, everybody's got a place and a people that you're supposed to be connected to. If it's not fitting, then you got to figure out and make a move.
Yeah. Back when you're 25 years old, it's incredible, man. It's incredible. I love that. Back when you're 25 years old, I want to go back there just real quick before we move on. You know, this kind of opportunity gets kind of pulled out from underneath of you in a way. You know, when you're on the verge of feeling like, you know, you're about to make a lot of money, you're about to really financially set yourself up for the future. And I feel like that particular setting and scenario wasn't about any people in your life going away. It was more about, is actually honestly at the time probably more about like money and opportunity. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people that watch our show. And I think there's a lot of people in 2020 and beyond that they try Shopify, it doesn't work. They try Amazon FBA, it doesn't work. They try, you know, this, and this. And, you know, maybe for them, it's just not right. Maybe they give up too early. I don't really know. But, you know, what was, like, for you, what was the learning lesson there? When that opportunity got pulled out, you said Manhattan wasn't, you kind of knew that wasn't for you, you know, but what was the learning lesson then? Was it, hey, man, you know, because in that moment, it's still not easy. Like, that's the only reason I want to go back there one more time, right? Right. Because I know we've been there, right? We've been in opportunities before where we thought this is it. I've been there multiple times. I've been in network marketing. I know we're young, but, you know, there was in network marketing, I thought I was going to make tens of millions of dollars in network marketing, right? Yeah. Like, I thought that was it, you know, private jets and, you know, didn't happen, right? We thought, you know, we had a marketing agency. We thought that was it. There's been multiple times in our life where we thought, man, like, and we really believed in that moment, like, this is it, you know, this is what we've been waiting for. We've been working so hard for, you know, and so anyways, I'm just curious as to hear, like, at what point did it occur to you that, okay, this was the lesson that I needed to take away from that? When was that and what was it?
Yeah, so I mean, part of it was probably riding the train home. You know? My daughter was like looking at like, hey, this will be the last time we're doing this. Yeah, enjoy it, honey. Yeah, for sure. Eat your pretzel.
And she was enjoying it.
Yeah, she's like, this is great. This is phenomenal. Sucks. This is the worst trip ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say a couple things. One, so when I think about decisions that I make,
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about myself. So what's important to me. So I'm a person of faith too. So I believe in God. So I have that as piece of my life. I believe everybody's got a spiritual piece to them. So for me, a lot of it comes back to how do I make decisions? How am I shifting through troubled times? So anytime we go through trouble, you have to press into you press into what's the word that would be reliable. You got to press into what works. You got to press into what you know to be true. Okay, because there's so much in your head that's not true. You're never going to do this. This was your fault. Or there's a lot of voices that come up remember that fear is always showing up, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So for me, I had 4 things that I thought of, when I make decisions. Number 1 is, in shifts in my life, I say, okay, is this something I was really supposed to be doing long term?
Yeah.
I was in it. First of all, anything you do, you better believe in it.
Sure.
So that's normal, right? That's good. But to your point, yeah, it's like getting punched in the face because you're like, I put everything, I have my blood, sweat, and tears into this. Now it's gone. But the point was, okay, did it run its course? And me thinking about, okay, if I do this, is this the best timing for me? Okay. Is this the best timing? And objectively, what's the timing for my life? There's rhythms to everything. When people ride waves, I'm not a big surfer, but I've seen it.
I would have thought you were.
I know. A lot of people mistake that. They're like, aren't you and a triathlete.
But there's also not a lot you couldn't do.
Yeah, I know. See,
and I could do it.
Right?
To be honest, I could. If I wanted to, and it was a big enough surfboard, I could definitely do it. 100%.
I love it.
I'm a great floater. I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
But people pick waves, right?
Yeah.
And even when they ride the biggest wave, it's never over. They just got to be patient for the next one. And the reason is because you only have so much energy. You only ride so many. So you just can't waste your time just raiding. It's meant to be for a season, and then you wait for the next one.
Sure.
And sometimes you get big ones, and sometimes you don't.
Right. And sometimes you miss a wave.
And sometimes you miss it. Yes, exactly. So for me, it was, okay, is this really what I want to do for my life? I got to check myself. Was I really happy? Am I mad because I'm just missing a paycheck, or am I mad because, what is the real root of it's causing me to step back and really challenge myself in analyzing, okay, was this really what I really saw myself do my whole life? Or was it more of, I need to build, I want to be about building something exciting, and I want to be building about something that's generating money. That's really what was more important than just that. And number 2, was the timing. Yeah. So it's the timing of this. Is this really the best timing for me? Maybe it is. Maybe there's some things I didn't see. And actually my whole life, as I was going through it, it did make more sense because there was more opportunities that opened up for me that I wouldn't have been able to do had I been at that company in Philly. It wouldn't have worked out. And when I couldn't see them then, but now I could. Number 3 is trust the voices around you. Everybody needs people around them that are like these pillars. Yep. And you need people, and sometimes there are rooms in your life, but you need voices around you that can help you, that love you, tell you the truth, can tell you no or yes, and give you feedback. It doesn't mean that whole decision is based on them, but I believe in my whole heart, for me, had I listened to a couple voices around me, even that loss, it wouldn't have stung as much. Not just my dad, but even my wife.
Right.
Which is hard to admit. But even listening to some of those people around you, because even the scriptures in the Old Testament just have so much great wisdom. But just as there's wisdom in the counsel of wise people.
Sure.
So there is. So you need to have wise people that care about you. They're not looking for anything from you, but they can give you kind of some perspectives that you just can't see. And then, for me, lastly, is okay, by me doing this, is this really is this whatever my shift is this a good thing? Is it kind of line up with my values? Is it anything that crosses that barrier? So, at that point, selling drugs was not an option. Doing Molly, loading up clubs. Yeah. Probably not.
Certain things you're not going to do.
Putting money on the street. Yeah. Fat Vince, sorry, bro, can't help you out with that.
Yeah. For sure.
But those are 4 things, and it's like the 4 legs of a chair. So that's for me. But you got to find out what that looks like for you now. You got to know.
So it's almost like a process that you have to go through. It's like a personal interview process that you in different seasons of life that you've got to develop for yourself. Right. For anybody watching, listening, us included, right? That okay, these are the things that matter to me. And every time I go through something hard, I'm going to refer back over here and kind of cross-reference, right? And make sure that I check these boxes off, and I'm not just moving too quickly or in my
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that kind of...
Yeah.
Okay.
So I probably should write something down about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should probably do a little part.
You could.
That's going to take some time to unpack that. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think over time I've just kind of fell through that and through trial and error.
Sure.
And like all of us, the best thing we do is learn our lessons fast.
Of course.
Cheap.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I said, and so for me, that process was, with relationships, I'm a people person, right? So I love hanging out. I love doing that stuff. But I have learned, like, hey, people have different positions in my life. Everybody's as valuable 100% with their life, but everybody doesn't demand all my time, my energy. I got to be around the people that I need to be for the season I'm in. And that goes a couple ways. That goes this way to the Lord, that I try to make sure I'm connected there. Number two, I'm connected this way, and it's a two-way street. So it can't all be about me, but I do challenge myself when I'm really struggling. This is something else I do. When I'm really struggling, going through a hard time, or so, I look for a way to try to help somebody else. I will I'll buy somebody a pair of shoes. I've gone, like, even when I didn't have a lot, I'm like, yo, this dude's, like, a guy called me from McDonald's like 2 weeks ago. He helped me. My car dies going through the drive-through, getting some, just supporting the local business. But he comes running out. He helps push me, and he's like, "Yo, man, you're a pastor," because I had my church hat on. And so he's like, "Man, I'm having a hard time. I don't have any money. Like, I need a bike, and I need this and that." So I don't even know this dude, right? But I'm like, we'll hook you up with some shoes and some different things. But even when my life's been hard, I purposely look forward to cook somebody. So I like to cook. Get lunch with somebody. Like, I'll find something to do for somebody else, even when I'm at the low points, because there's something about that of serving somebody else's. We know that, people's but even on a small scale, when you're really struggling, I firmly believe in it. It changes your state.
Yeah,
it changes the state of this. And there's a lot of ways to do that, and everybody has their own philosophy. But for me, I feel like giving. If I need something, then I need to find a way to get. And it's not always just money.
Sure.
Like, sometimes it could be, I'm just going to text somebody, like, hey, how's it going? I'm thinking about you. Like, I'm praying for somebody, and just, I find a way to do something for somebody else. And I think about what the world would look like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, if every day we woke up, and no, you need to kill yourself with this, but just saying, hey, look, my life has purpose. Part of my purpose is helping other people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it doesn't need to be by taking my class or my courses. Part of that that's a piece of it.
Sure.
Even when we had our business with students, every year we had something that we would either scholarship or we would help somebody out, get them connected. And I'm like, we're not getting paid on that one. That's just a lost leader, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And
that.
maybe nobody even knows about
Right.
it, but God does. And I know about it. And you know what it does to me?
Oh yeah.
It makes me feel good.
It's all that matters.
Yeah, it makes me feel good. And you know what happens? It gets repaid back to me all the time. Like, all kinds of crazy things happen to me. So
yeah,
I love that, man. You're the second guest in a row. Yeah. That's probably what you're about to say, Austin.
Yeah, Matt Maddox has one of the Maddox missions. It is actually local here in the United States, and there's a mission happening every single day.
Yeah,
and I mean, this dude he's on fire for.
He was a pastor at one point too, but it's super cool. It's only cool because it's almost like. Because we do 2 shows a week right now.
Yeah.
So the last show we did, he was saying something really similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's like, even for us, like, there might be a reason that you guys both back to back telling Austin and I to go give more,
Right,
for sure.
Yeah, you could do that right now. Here you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Fill that up.
Right. Yeah.
I'll give you my Venmo.
Right.
Yeah, let's roll.
But for real, man, and
seriously.
it really got us thinking when he said it, and it's going to get me thinking when you said, because we go back and listen to our own shows, because we always try to improve and get better. But it's definitely going to get us thinking. I hope it gets other people thinking, because it's the most true. And I told you this just between him and I said the other day, because we're sales guys, right? We're all, I mean, not like in the slimy sense of that, but like, just like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what we do. We sell. Whether we're selling the dream to our team, whether I'm selling the dream to him, he's selling the dream to me. We're always selling something, right? But I was telling him the other day, I've had like an off like few weeks of just like, you know what I mean? I get the most freaking hot lead in the world, and I can't close them right now. And I'm a closer, so that's something's not right there. Right. So I told him the other day, I texted him, I said, dude, I got to go give. Like, I got to go find somebody to give something to or something, because it's just like, for whatever reason, maybe it's just all been about me lately. Subconsciously, I didn't realize that. I don't know, but I said, I got to make it not about me for a little while, because I'm going through a dry streak.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, and just real quick, can I say something? Remember, you've heard me say this. Whatever you focus on gets bigger.
Sure.
For sure.
So if that's all you're focused, like, it forces you to focus on something that's outside. So it doesn't allow it to grow. It doesn't allow the negative thoughts, negative feelings, because every thought's associated with feeling. When we remember something, to remember means to put it back together. Right? So if I'm remembering the job and then pull me in the office and be like, hey, we're closing this office. And I remember how that feels. And I remember, like, it's pulling me down. I remember if that feeling of like, oh man, this is going to suck. Like whatever I put back together, even tragedies in our life, if we put that back together, there's always a feeling associated with it. And that's dangerous.
Yep.
Now, part of it's the way we're wired and it's healthy. But the minute that becomes the focus is that now we're growing something.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we're feeding it. So whatever we feed grows, starve, dies. So that's why it's important,
Love
with
that.
this kind of stuff that we remember and we put together things. Nothing wrong with looking backwards and seeing things that motivate. We're talking about it today. But there are moments where if I stay too long, and I still have these moments, honestly, because we're human.
Yep.
Where I could watch a movie or and I'll think about stuff with my daughter, and I mean I can cry and just like super
Get into that
down.
moment
yeah,
again.
because
Yeah,
I'm remembering something. I know how I felt, and then all of a sudden, and again, the enemy of our lives, the enemy of our success, the enemy of our purpose is always going to be taking us backwards.
Yeah.
Because that's the only fight he can really fight, and hoping to project something forward, but nothing's happened forward. And so, that is something we have to be careful about. So when we do something for somebody else, that's the point. Like for me, that's why I find that helps, that it's like, okay, I can do that. And then I can remember that's what I do. So part of these are building these habits in our lives that they're our go-to. I'm taking, do boxing and stuff like that. So part of it is understanding.
Which you also look like a boxer. Too.
Yeah, which
surfer
I don't
slash
wanna-
boxer. I was trying to think in my head, like,
know.
what do you really? If you walk
You
through
know
the
what?
door, I never met you. Is it a surfer, boxer, professional, football player, hockey player? Like, you know what I mean? All the
Yeah.
above, I think, is what kind
Not
of
hockey player.
Maybe
My ankles
singer,
are weak.
Like,
Okay.
But-
you you could sing. You know what I
I
mean?
could sing.
Yeah. I'd rather-
You were a part of Iron Man for sure.
I was.
You
and
sing,
I don't.
swim, jump,
Yeah,
throw,
yeah,
punch,
that's
right. I don't
kick,
wanna get in-
feel, touch.
Right.
I don't want to brag.
No,
But
no, no.
the list goes
Just
on.
humble brag.
It's
Humble brag.
It's a
I love
humble
it.
brag.
It's all good.
But with
Unbelievable.
but with boxing, you're constantly, there's a difference between hitting a bag and hitting somebody that's punching back.
Sure.
And they train on, hey, when you punch, how are you blocking and counter punching?
Yeah.
And so you do it over and over and over again because that becomes your reaction. So you have to build into your lifestyle what your reaction is when you get punched and when you get caught. You might not get knocked out, but a lot of the things that happen in our lives are small things that we make bigger. They're not knockout punches, but we make them knockout punches because we step out of the ring, we go in the corner, or we're just trying to avoid it, and we avoid it, and we avoid it. And meantime, we're built for a fight. We're all built for that. We're built for, especially entrepreneurs. You're never going to be satisfied unless you're fighting for something and building something. So,
Bam.
Yeah, sure. I
knowing
like that.
what's your go-to. So knowing that, like, hey, when this starts to happen, I got to recognize it and I got to get on it. What are we talking about COVID right now? They're like, well, if you start having a sore throat and you have a fever, it goes to 102, then this is what you should do. You got to know what that looks like for your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's giving, then
And
you gotta
everybody
start-
knows that right
gotta
now.
Kick into that.
Yeah.
Man, if people paid half the attention on their own lives other than COVID-19, everybody right now in the whole world, we're living in this really weird time. Not to get political, right? But everybody in the whole world knows what COVID is, and they know what the symptoms are, and they know this, that, and the third. It's like if you spend half that energy focused on something positive in your life, there could be big changes.
And let me say, I know we're out
you're
close on
good.
time, but one of the issues is that sometimes people will take, this is the worst experience in my entire life, and this is the worst time we've ever had, and it's not.
Yeah.
I heard John Maxwell talking about this recently, and I can't think of who he was with, but he was talking about there are bad times. We're dealing with racial stuff, we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with an election that people are completely divided. But he said, let's just look at history. He said, look, there are things that we need to fix right now. I'm not discounting any of that, so please hear what I'm saying. But what I am saying is this isn't the first time in history we're going through hell. And he said, look at the 60s. He said, I was alive. There was rioting happening every single week, all throughout the country. There was people being killed in our country, as they were working on, school integration and all that. You had JFK. The president is killed in front of everybody,
Murdered.
shot in front of everybody.
Yeah.
You have his brothers killed. Martin Luther King Jr. killed. I mean, you had years, like a segment of time of just complete and utter upheaval in ways that nobody had ever seen. And so he said, but we got through it. Yeah. And we'll get through this.
And it became a learning.
Yeah. And this is another problem because, again, this is a good point for what we're dealing with, is that people are so focused on things that don't matter to their lives, and it's not building their business. It's not building their life. I'm all for being educated with what's happening, but I got so many people, if I see one more time, like, hey, stay woke, check this out, when people are going to wake up, it makes me kind of sick a little bit. I'm sorry. Because it's like one conspiracy to the next. And I'm not saying that things aren't happening. I'm just saying I don't have the time and energy. I only got so much time.
For sure.
And you're sitting at home and you're just one video after the next. You don't even know what's true, what's not true, and what's it. Now,
and you ain't never gonna know what's not true. You know,
if that's not your, if that's your fight, then you should be doing that. You want to be in politics and you want to be a person that's about change and maybe a community activist. That makes sense.
Sweet.
But you're trying to build a business online and sell a product, and you're spending a majority of your time talking about conspiracies about people and how the friggin' COVID got here.
Yeah.
For sure.
Doesn't matter.
For sure.
Doesn't matter. Focus on what matters.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's so many people out there that want to change the world, but they ain't going to change themselves.
Yeah, for
right.
Sure.
Yes.
So that ain't going to happen.
So good.
For sure, man. And I agree with that.
We just keep rocking and rolling. We know we can only impact so many people, but we know tomorrow we're not going to change the world. And me getting you to think what I think isn't going to change the world either.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
So many people spend so much time in the wrong areas, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just waking up in the wrong area, investing all this time and energy, and there's no benefit, there's no reward, there's no nothing. What's the reward?
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you get? You getting paid?
Right.
Somebody paying you?
Right.
Like you getting a check for saying that? You know, like
if you don't have a radio show or TV show, I don't need you to tell me to stay woke. You need to wake up.
Get paid.
You need to wake up.
To do a thing.
Like,
you know what I mean? Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with that, man.
it.
And I just think, and it's not an attack on the people saying,
No.
it's just like, hey, wake up. You got to wake up and take control of your own life
medicine.
again.
What you said, then don't complain about it.
Right.
Don't complain about not building. Don't complain about not having money. Don't complain about, man, I don't know why I don't have anything. Don't complain.
Because you ain't focused on getting it.
Yep.
Because you ain't focused on getting it.
Yeah.
Why do you think you don't have it? You ain't focused on getting it, man.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Oof.
So, a lot of people are focused on what they can't control, right? And I think that's, look, man, people have been doing that for centuries.
Yep.
But you always got people in history that, and it'll happen for another. Their focus, and what's the saying, Austin, network marketing, your attention goes where energy flows.
Yes.
I think,
So
but
good.
it's like, when you're focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And so you're attracting more of the wrong things.
Yeah. And conspiracies have been around forever. Just think about this real quick.
100%.
Real quick.
Yep.
Conspiracy puts Jesus on the cross. And whether you believe in Jesus being God or not, historically he was put on a cross. Like that can't be argued. That happened, right? There's a record of that. So he goes before a king. He didn't do anything wrong. And they're like, well, you want to kill him? Let's just go ahead and kill him. Out of my hands. It's a conspiracy that puts him on the cross and murders a guy in a graphic way. Like conspiracy that's been going on forever. So I'm not even like, hey, look, bro, stop. You're sending me videos and stuff, and I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just saying, I'm not even doubting some of the stuff you're saying. I just don't have the time for what I'm trying to build in my life to put into that. This has been going on long before you and I were here. It's going to happen when people in power and money
continue to go
we can
on.
go around to other countries. Look what's happened in Nicaragua, all these countries we've been to. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't stand up, but I'm saying
people should stand up.
You got to know your fight. If it's not your fight, then you're punching in the air
and fight the good fight.
Fight the good fight. You're punching in the air, and then you're exhausting yourself, and you're putting energy into things that you're not even called.
No, for sure, man. And look at this. Like, I love that. Real quick, and it's like, I like the whole like fight your fight, right? Because here's what in my opinion what ends up happening. Somebody gets bought into this idea, this ideal that they have, right? And they want their fight almost becomes getting other people bought in, not the actual fight itself.
Yes.
And the problem with that is the people that are on the fence about it, they're actually more they benefit society more by fighting a different fight. And then what happens is the people that initially were trying to get that person bought in, they're now all bent out of shape that this other person won't get bought in.
Yep.
When this person over here is building a company, hiring people, paying people's salaries, putting money into people's pockets so they can afford to put food on the table. And you got this initial person that's still been out of shape because they can't get this person bought into their fight. And it's like, you gotta understand that too, right? Your initial fight was to fight the fight, then fight the fight.
Right.
But your thing can't be, well, I got to get 9,000 people to march down Central Avenue with me. And again, I'm not right. It's like, look, it's just don't convince people that that's not their fight to fight the fight. Let them fight the fight that makes sense in their life. Yeah. And then you round up all the people in the world that have the same.
You know what sells? Always sells. Vision always trumps. Mission always trumps.
For sure.
If you can sell vision and mission, people will be on board. right? But you're never going to strong arm somebody into that because it won't last. You might strong arm into whether it's your company,
of course,
your life. Like we can all sell, but if people buy into vision, they buy into somebody as a visionary that you have something that's we're building, and it's got to be something that's built like. Yeah, it's got to be believable. But most people are a voice; they're not of action.
Yeah,
sure.
You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink, ladies and gentlemen.
Right? Yeah.
What an incredible show,
right.
Mr. Zaback.
Yeah. Phenomenal, dude.
Incredible.
Phenomenal.
How long, Justin? Probably close to an hour?
A little over an hour. I didn't even feel like
Sorry, guys.
Holy cow. No, you're good,
went
brother.
by quick,
We've done longer ones. We'll probably even have to do part 2 here. I know I've said that a lot lately, but
we'll have to do food next
We got to do.
time.
I got to cook.
I'm starving.
Bring the grill out.
We got to bring the grill. Yeah,
grill.
I'm down for the good time.
We'll do it right in the
Do some
office.
steaks and
Right
lobster
out front.
tails. Do some grilled vegetables.
Everything minus the lobster, ladies and gentlemen.
unbelievable.
If you guys haven't already, make
He's
sure to
allergic to
smash the thumbs up button on this video. Make sure and subscribe if you guys are tuning in on YouTube. Make sure and drop in your comment section below what you guys' thoughts, feelings, and everything is on this episode as well. Do us a favor, Austin. I only ask you of one thing. Instead of asking you to Venmo us $100 each every single time you watch one of our shows, which I truly believe that you get more than $100 worth of value, we just ask for you to share it with 5 of your friends. Okay, five individuals that I think maybe should hear this message that Todd Boffo actually put together for us here today. And if you're on Stitcher, iTunes, podcasts, any of those good things, you know what I mean. Make sure and give us a 5-star review. Make sure and drop in the comment section and give us something. Give us some feedback. We like to hear that. We like to see that. And most importantly,
and we look at it, man. We watch it, we review it, we comment back, the whole nine.
The whole nine. And
I love
go
that.
follow our Instagram as well. That thing is blowing up. Okay, I don't know what we're doing, but wow, it's blowing up, ladies and gentlemen. Todd Boffo, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Any final words at all, Todd, for the viewer, for the watcher?
No, yeah, just thank you guys for having me, man. You guys are rocking and rolling and believe in what you're doing and believe the best is yet to come. And for anybody who's listening, maybe you've just heard a lot, even if you're just touched a little bit or just like, man, I got to, find some action, write something down, put it in your phone, find the next step. You might say, man, you don't know where I'm at. I got so much going on in my life right now. I don't know how I could overcome this. It's a lot, man. Like you don't understand, like you did it, but I'm not you. Yeah, you're not me, but you're you. You got everything you need. And there's resourcing around you. And so you got to start somewhere. Everybody started life with a crawl, a walk, and a run. So wherever you find yourself in that process, start from there, and you'll get to running soon enough. So hang in there.
I love it.
I love that. That's phenomenal. Hey, Todd, where can people find you?
So right now I'm at Todd Boffo on Instagram, working on my website, and I got new content coming out. I got stuff coming.
Fire.
So I have a lot of funny memes. I just do a lot of fun stuff, but we have more stuff coming and even some content, some stuff just to really help resource people. Well, like even what you mentioned with going through transition and helping people walk through that process because it's more than a speech because it's got to be action, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I got stuff coming up and I'll let you know when it happens.
At Todd Boffo, we'll put all this information down below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching. Todd, thank you for being here, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
That was phenomenal.
Hopefully that was fun.